Welcome back, all of you. In the previous video lecture, we've seen different categories of systems like linear and non-linear systems, time variant and time invariant systems. So, moving on, we'll discuss another important category of systems, that is causal and non-causal systems. So we can define a causal system as a system if its output at any time depends only on the present and the past values of the input. That means a causal system is a system whose output at any time depends only on the present or past values of the input. This is how we define a causal system, and the systems which are not causal are anti-causal. That means if you want to define a non-causal system, then we can say that non-causal system is a system whose output at any time depends only on the future values of the input signal. So this is the reason that causal system are also known as non-anticipatory systems or physically realizable systems. They are non-anticipatory or physically realizable. We call them physically realizable because the output depends only on the present and the past values of the input, because we know the present as well as the past value, but we cannot anticipate the future value of the input. This is the reason it is known as non-anticipatory and physically realizable system. Now let us see how do we, given a particular system, how do we identify whether it is a causal or a non-causal system. Let's take a few examples to identify the causality of the system. Identification of causality. Okay, so let's take an example. Let's say we have a system which is defined by this input-output relationship, that is yt is equal to x t plus 2. Let us take two systems simultaneously. Yt is equal to e raised to power x t minus 2. Okay, yt is the output here, output of the system. Xt is the input of the system. Now let us identify whether these two given systems are causal or non-causal. We'll begin with this one. In order to check whether a system is causal or non-causal, we'll have to check for all values of time t. So we'll take a positive value of time t greater than 0. Let's say t is equal to capital time T, which is greater than 0, and t is greater than 0. First we'll check for the positive value of time t. So y of t will be equal to x of t plus 2, right? We've replaced the independent variable small t with a capital value T, and the capital T is greater than 0. It's a positive entity, and in that case this becomes the system equation. Here we can see that the present output is what? Y of capital T. It depends on the x t plus 2. That means the future value of input signal. The current value of input signal will be x of t, but this output depends on x of t plus 2, depends on the future value of time, future value of the input signal. So we can say that this system is a non-causal system. Straight away we can conclude that this is a non-causal system. On the other hand, if we analyze the other system, this one, yt is equal to e raised to power xt minus 2. Again, let us do the same thing. We'll analyze the system for t is equal to capital T, and t initially we take as a positive quantity. So the system equation becomes y of t equal to e raised to power x of t minus 2. Now this is the present output and it depends on the previous value of the input. Current value of input is x of t now. So x t minus 2 is nothing but the previous value, right? So we can say that the output at any time t, which is a positive entity, depends on the input at the previous instant, right? So for time t greater than 0, we have already checked it fulfills the condition of causality. We'll do the same thing for negative time instant, time t less than 0, and check whether the condition of causality satisfies or not. For this case, the system equation will become e raised to power x t minus 2. Now t is a negative quantity, right? So just analyze this equation. This is the present output and this depends on x t minus 2. You can take a very simple example. T is a negative quantity. We assume that t is equal to, let's say, minus of 4. Okay, so the system equation is y of minus of 4 is equal to e raised to power x of minus 4 minus 2. So the present output, which is y of minus 4, depends on x minus 6, depends on the previous value, obviously, right? Similarly, you can take any negative values and you will find that the present output depends on the previous value of the input signal. Hence we can say that this signal is a causal system. This system is a causal system. So we have to check the system equation rather, for all the different values of time, positive and the negative, and we have to verify whether the present output depends on the present or the past values of the input. If that condition is satisfied, we can say that the system is a causal system. Otherwise, if that condition violates, then we can say that the system is a non-causal system. Let us do one more example that will give a better clarity. If we have a system with equation y of t equal to x of minus t plus 5. This is the system equation given to us. So let us analyze the causality of the system. We'll analyze it for time t is equal to capital T and t greater than 0 for positive value of time. The system equation becomes y of t equal to x of minus t plus 5, right? Now this is the present output and it depends on, you can say, the previous value of input, because if we take any positive value of time t over here, let's say y of 2, it becomes x of minus 2 plus 5. So the present output depends on the previous value of the input, right? On the other hand, if we so till now the condition of causality is satisfied. Now let us analyze the same system equation for negative values of time t. T is equal to capital T and t is less than 0, right? System equation will be again same, y t is equal to x of minus t plus 5, right? Now this is the present output and it depends on x of minus t. Now let us check whether it depends on the previous, present or the future values of the input. Assume any negative value of capital T. Let's say y of, take the value minus 2. So y of minus 2 becomes equal to x of 2 plus 5. Now this is the present output and it depends, you can clearly see, on the future value of the input signal. Hence, although this condition was satisfied for positive value of t, the causality condition was satisfied, but for the negative values of time t, this condition of causality is not satisfied. Hence, we can say that it is a non-causal system. This is how we identify the causality of a system. Let us do some more practice questions because it's a very important concept to identify the causality of a system. So let's say we have a system defined by equation yt is equal to sine of xt. we need to comment on the causality of this given system. So we'll follow the same process to identify the causality. We'll check for the positive value of time t. So it becomes yt equal to sine of xt. Clearly we can see that this current value of output depends only on the current value of the input. So the causality condition is satisfied. Similarly for negative value of time t, we'll check the same condition. Again we can see that the present output depends on the present input only. That means if you take any negative value, y of minus 2 let's say, is equal to sine of x of minus 2. So the present output depends only on the present input. Yt is the output and xt is the input signal, right? So this for negative time instants also this condition is satisfied, hence a causal system. We can comfortably comment that this is a causal system. Moving on, let's take some more examples. Yt is equal to x of 2t. Alright, we can clearly see that it's a non-causal system because for the first condition, that is for the positive time instants, you can see that yt is equal to x of 2t. So if we assume any positive time instant, that is y of let's say 2, it depends on the future values of the input, hence a non-causal system. Next, y of t equal to xt cos of t plus 1. Let us analyze this system. We'll again check for positive and the negative time instants. So let's check it for the positive time instant first. Alright, so this is the present output and we can clearly see that it depends only on the present input only. Okay, x of t. This don't confuse with cos t plus 1 because input signal is x of t and the output signal is y of t, and the condition of causality states that the present output depends only on the present input or some previous input values. Okay, so the present output depends only on the present input. So this for positive values this condition is satisfied, and for negative value also for t less than 0 we can see that this condition will again be satisfied. We can assume any negative value of t, let's say y of minus 2 will be equal to x of minus 2 cos of minus 1. Okay, so the present output depends on the present input, hence for all the time instants positive and the negative the causality condition is satisfied, hence a causal system. Another important category of the system or system classification is static and dynamic systems. It is quite similar to the causal and non-causal systems. Static system is also known as memoryless system, and dynamic systems are known as systems with memory. So a static system is the one in which the output for any value of time, output at any time instant, depends only on the input at the same time instant. So static system are those whose output at any time instant depends on the input at the same time instant. Hence these systems are known as memoryless system because they cannot store the previous values of the input. So the output depends only on the present value of the input, right? Hence known as memoryless system. And the systems which are not static are dynamic systems. All right, we can have a look at some examples, like yt is equal to e raised to power x of t. It's clearly a static system because output at any time instant, you can see, depends on the input at the same time instant. Let's take some more example. Yt is equal to x square t. It is again a static system because output at any time instant t depends on the input at the same time instant. Similarly, xt is equal to x square t minus 2. Now this is a dynamic system. Reason being, the output at any time instant t depends on some other values of the input signal, some other time instants of the input signal, hence a dynamic system. So this is how we can categorize a system as static and the dynamic system. Always remember, static systems are memoryless system and dynamic systems are system with memory. Moving on, another classification of systems is a stable and unstable system. Let us see how we define a stable and an unstable system. It's a very important property for any system. So informally, you can say a stable system is one in which small input leads to a response that do not diverge. It's kind of an informal definition that a stable system is a system in which small inputs leads to a response. By response we mean output. Leads to a response that do not diverge. This is how we can define a stable system. That means if we are giving a very limited input to that system, the output should also be into a bounded or limited fashion. So such a system is a stable system. And the systems which acts very unpredictably, like a very small input results into a very huge variation in the output, those systems are unstable systems. So if we define a stability of a system, we usually call it bounded input, bounded output stability. Bounded input, bounded output stability. We also call it as BIBO stability. Okay, that means a system is BIBO stable if a small input results into a bounded input results into a bounded output. So we can say that let's say we have an input xt which is bounded. So such input results into a response or the output of the system which is again bounded. Such a system is known as bounded input, bounded output stable system. I am repeating once again, a stable system is a system in which small inputs leads to a response or output that do not diverge. A very good example of a stable system, you can say, is an inverted pendulum. If you invert the pendulum and hold it upside down, and now if we apply a very small push to that pendulum, you'll see that the output will be a very huge or diverge. The pendulum will very quickly come down and then swing back again. So very small input, a very slight input will also result into a very huge divergence in the output. So such a system is an unstable system. If a bounded input results into a bounded output, those systems are stable systems, otherwise the systems are unstable systems. Let us analyze this whole concept of stability and unstable systems with the help of some examples. Let us take a system which is defined by equation that is yt is equal to t times of x of t, where we know that this is the output, yt is the output and xt is the input signal. Now we need to comment on the stability of this system. We need to comment on the stability of the system. So we'll check the bounded input and bounded output conditions. That means we need to satisfy this condition that any bounded input will result into a bounded output. We satisfy this condition, then we can say the system is a stable system. Let us analyze it now. Now for all values of time t, we can say that modulus of yt is equal to modulus of t times of xt, right? Which is equal to modulus of time t to modulus of xt, magnitude of xt, right? This can be written as t, and this modulus of xt is the now we are replacing xt with a small input, a bounded input, which is b of x. B of x represents a bounded input and b of y represents a bounded output. Now if you replace the magnitude of the input signal xt by a small bounded input b of x, now let us analyze the system. This is y, magnitude of output, this is magnitude of output, and it is equal to magnitude of independent variable time t into some small bounded input which is less than infinity. Okay, so this bx is less than infinity, is a bounded input, right? Now let us analyze this system for all the values of time t. So we can clearly see that at time t is equal to infinity, what will be the value of yt? It will also tend towards infinity. When time tends towards infinity, the magnitude of the output will also tend towards infinity, isn't it? Although we are giving a bounded input, but at a particular instant of time, which is time t is equal to infinity, the output is also tending towards infinity. Output does not remain bounded. Hence we can say that this system is a unstable system, because for a very bounded input, which is b of x, that's a small bounded input, the output tends towards infinity for time t tending towards infinity. We need to check the system for the entire time instance, and we apply a bounded input, the output should also be bounded, but in this case the output is not bounded, hence it is a unstable system. Let us have a look at some more examples to get a better picture of this concept. Let's say yt is equal to e raised to power x of t. This is a system equation given to us. Yt is output, xt is the input. Now let us analyze it. We know that the bounded input b of x should be less than infinity, right? For all values of time t. For all t, we can rewrite this expression as x of t spanning from minus bx to bx for all values of time t. Correct? We can comfortably rewrite this expression as this. Now if we look at the input output relationship, it is yt is equal to e raised to power x of t, right? So we can write that yt spans from e raised to power minus bx to e raised to power plus bx. Bx is a bounded input that we are providing. Correct? We have just replaced x of t by the bounded input bx, and using this relationship we can say that yt spans in this region. Correct? So now what can we conclude from here? We are giving a bounded input b of x. What about y of t, which is the output? Is it bounded or unbounded for any time instant t? See, it spans in this range, and we can clearly say that if bx is a bounded value, it is less than infinity, so yt, which lies from e raised to power minus bx to e raised to power plus bx, will also be a bounded quantity for any time instant. Even for time t is equal to infinity, this yt will be bounded because it lies between e raised to power minus bx to e raised to power plus bx. There is no independent time variable multiplied over here. So clearly we can say that it is a stable system. Stable system because a bounded input bx results into an output which is also bounded. This yt can never be infinity. You can look at this range. It lies from this range to this. Bx is a bounded input. Bx is a bounded input. Hence, yt will also be always bounded. Hence, it is a stable system. Moving on, I will take up one more example. I will take example of a discrete time system now. Let's say we have a system defined by equation y of n equal to 1 by 3 times of x of n plus x of n minus 1 plus x of n minus 2. This is the system equation. X and y are obviously the input and the output. Again we have the condition that we take a bounded input. The magnitude of the input is bounded. Sorry, it's x of n. Now let us look at the input-output relationship. This is the input-output relationship. So magnitude of the output can be said as to be equal as 1 by 3 times of modulus of x of n plus modulus of x of n minus 1 plus magnitude of x of n minus 2, right? So we know x of n, we can replace x of n by a bounded input, right? Input is a bounded quantity, that is undisputed. Input will be bounded, and then we have to check whether the output is also bounded or not. So we'll replace x of n or the input by b of x. We can comfortably do that. Plus x of n minus, if x of n is bx, x of n minus 1, this is the shifted version of the input. It will also be bounded because input in any condition is bounded. Similarly, b of x. So bounded quantity plus bounded quantity plus bounded quantity, that will result into another, in multiplied by 1 by 3, which is again a bounded quantity. That will again result into a bounded quantity, right? So we can say that the magnitude of the output is also bounded in nature for a bounded input, hence a stable system. Moving on to the next and the last category of the systems is invertible and non-invertible systems. So let's begin with the invertible systems. We can say that a system is invertible if by observing the output we can determine its input. As simple as that. That's the most simplistic definition of an invertible system. We can say that a system is invertible if by observing the output we can determine the input. We can determine the input. Such a system is known as invertible system. That is, we can construct an inverse system that when cascaded with a given system results into the same input signal. That means if we have a system, input is x of t, output is y of t, and if the output is passed through the inverse of the system, then the resultant will be, let's say, some other output z of t, which is equal to nothing but your input signal x of t. So such a system whose inverse is possible is known as invertible system. This system whose inverse is possible is known as invertible system, so that when it is cascaded with its inverse system, the output is nothing but the same input signal. Or in other words, we can say that the inverse system undoes what the given system has already done. The inverse system undoes what the system has already done with the input signal x of t. Okay. So now comes how to identify whether a system is invertible or non-invertible. Identification. Identification of the invertibility. Okay, so when it's a very simple criteria, when several different inputs results in the same output, it is impossible to obtain the input from the output. It is quite logical. When I'm repeating it once again, when several different inputs, n number of inputs are there, and they results into the same output, so it is quite impossible to obtain the input with the knowledge of the output, right? So such systems are non-invertible. I'll write it down the same thing. When several inputs results into the same output, it is impossible to determine the output, it's impossible to determine the input with the help of output. Alright, so based on this, we can say that for an invertible system, it is essential that every input has a unique output. For invertible systems, it is essential that every input has a unique output. Every input has a unique output, so that there is a one-to-one mapping between the input and the corresponding output. So that there is one-to-one mapping. One-to-one mapping between input and output. So such we can verify this condition to comment on the invertibility of a system. I'll give you a very simple example. A rectifier. I hope all of you are familiar with the concept of a rectifier. We can define that with the system equation, magnitude of t. There is the output and xt is the input. We can see that clearly a rectifier is a non-invertible system. It's a non-invertible system because the rectification operation cannot be undone. Cannot be undone. Hence we can say that this system equation or the system rectifier is a non-invertible system, because when its inverse system cascaded with the system does not undo the operations performed by the system. So with this we have done the different types of different categories of the systems. Now we need to practice rigorously the numerical portion based on these categorization of systems. It's very, very important. Alright, so that is all in this lecture, and please practice the numerical portions from wherever source, whatever source that is available with you, whether it be the book or internet or anything else. I would also suggest that you can try out the GATE examination previous year questions. That will give you a very good idea. And yeah, in the next video lecture we'll begin with some different concepts, which is the linear time invariant systems. Thank you.